Maxing.
I want it.
Max.
It's the night away.
What the hell are you two doing?
It's called.
Gigantamaxing.
You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not.
Good at VGC.
I used to be,
Good at VGC.
but then they changed what
VGC.
was. Now what I'm with isn't
Good.
and what
VGC.
seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
In past generations, Pokemon has seen its fair share of battle gimmicks to spice up battles. In Gen 6, we had Mega Evolutions, giving some selected Pokemon the ability to Mega Evolve. When Mega Evolved, Pokemon gain 100 base stat points, and sometimes a new type or ability, sometimes making the Pokemon completely different in the process. In Gen 7, we got Z-Moves, an ability that, when holding a special crystal, can power up a move of the crystal's type for one turn, generally with a cool animation.
Like getting sent to another fucking dimension.
Some people liked these gimmicks, but some people hated. But I don't think I've seen as many people hate a new mechanic more than the Sword and Shield battle gimmick, Dynamax. And I too am not the biggest fan of Dynamax. I believe Dynamax is far too oppressive in its current state and needs some major changes, which is what I plan on talking about today. What better time for this video to come out than before a major update to the game comes out. Could be a cool prediction video, even though I have no faith in Game Freak or the Pokemon Company International to change anything about Dynamax. So let's get into the problem with Dynamax and how it can be fixed. So first off, what does Dynamax do? In Dynamax, for 3 turns, you get 2 times your current HP, get access to higher base power attacks that can't miss with Max and G-Max moves, which have different effects, are immune to Flinch, are immune to Encore, Taunt, Disable, Curse Body, and Torment, cannot be phased out by moves unless by your own eject button or you switch out, immune to weight based moves, can attack through Protect doing a quarter of the regular damage, are affected by healing and moves like Nature's Madness and Super Fang as if you were a non-Dynamax Pokemon. So for example, if you were healed by Floral Healing, it would only heal a quarter of your health. And all abilities and items still work except for the choice items, Guerrilla Tactics, and Shit Force. If you didn't realize, that's quite a lot. It's like they took Z-Moves and gave it the strongest steroids known to man. But why is this a problem? It's way too versatile and has minimal counterplay. Let me explain. What type of counterplay do you think would be good against Dynamax? Well, there's always the simple kill it before it kills you mentality, which generally works well, especially against Pokemon seen more on hyper offense teams. Think Cinderace or Dracozolt. The Pokemon can't do what it wants if it's been taken off the board, right? But unfortunately, there are just some Pokemon that just won't die. For some Pokemon, that 2 times HP boost allows it to survive any hit and hit back with a max move of our own, getting a potential KO. A good example of this problem is G-Max Lapras, an already bulky Pokemon. A small amount of Pokemon have the ability to KO it reliably without needing set up like Beat Up Gobalion or something like Helping Hand Boost to increase the attack power. The only Pokemon that I could find that somewhat reliably KOs a standard Lapras is Life Orb Hustle Dracozolt with a powered Bolt Beak, unless you're Adamant, which a Max Lightning will do, or an Adamant Hustle Flapple with Max Overgrowth. But if you turn up the defense stats a bit, yeah. Sure, these spreads are a bit unrealistic, but they are possible and do work. And not picking up these KOs means a free Aurora Veil and inevitable death for your Pokemon, especially if it's a weakness policy set. Weakness policy is its own problem, but I'll get to that. Okay, so what are your alternatives? Well, if offense doesn't work, then defense is obviously your next move, right? Right, using your defensive tools to stall out Dynamax is probably the best way to beat it. Moves that lower offensive stats, defensive switches, and protecting to minimize damage output while also getting some chips and whittling away at their resources. But in some cases you can find yourself on the back foot. No matter how you deal with it, you'll still have to deal with the stat boost and the field effects that they set up while doing all the defensive stuff. And by then it might be too late, they might just snowball the rest of your team away. Lapras could have gotten the Aurora Veil up, and Crit Kiss is just in the corner, critting everybody on team, turning them to dust. Unless you use your Dynamax to max God, of course. And then there are items. Unlike its predecessors, Dynamax does not require a held item. But why is this a problem? It essentially means that you're able to choose any Pokemon to Dynamax, which makes it hard to predict which Pokemon is going to do it, from team preview to even the lead. Of course, there are some exceptions to this. There are some teams where Dynamax is completely predictable, like on a Porygon Z team or a Lapras team. But to see what I mean, let's have a look at this Series 4 team made by Ashton Cox, with Togekiss, Dragapult, Tyranitar and Excadrill, Incineroar and Rotom Wash. It's about 3 formats outdated, but it still gets my point across. Looking at this team, any one of these Pokemon could Dynamax, but the true problem arises when you enter the battle. Let's say they lead Togekiss Dragapult. Generally speaking, you would think the Dragapult will be the one that Dynamaxes here. Togekiss uses Follow Me to redirect any incoming attacks, and Dragapult goes for max moves. So you should use moves that KO the Togekiss so you don't have to deal with the redirection and focus on the Dragapult the next turn. But oh no, Togekiss was the one that Dynamaxed. You hit it, it lived, and it procced a weakness policy. Now you're being airstreamed to dust while they're laughing on the other side of the field. The same thing could be said about the Tyranitar Excadrill lead too. It makes for an incredibly tough 50-50 that can lose you the game if they Dynamax turn 1, and that's a big if. Sometimes you forget there are other options than Dynamaxing turn 1. But at that point you're leading into like player reads and stuff, so I don't really want to get into that because this is like scrub quote in the making. Ooh, I'm so gonna get scrub quoted for this video. Of course there are the held items themselves, and the major problem with it is, and I've already said it a few times, the weakness policy. There's a reason why Where is the Weakness policy was a joke in the early days of Sword and Shield. Due to max moves' increased power and the increase in HP, it's really easy to live a hit and then hit back with double the strength, nuking anything with max move after max move. Then there are some items that are a little bit less annoying, like Life Orb or Expert Belt to increase the power of attack, and then the Assault Vest, which makes the Pokemon even bulkier and harder to KO. And then of course there are a few other checks, like Trick Eject Button, and of course putting Pokemon to sleep, which is generally why you see a lot of Amoonguss, Venusaur, and Yawn Togekiss going around. But that heavily relies on RNG, getting enough sleep turns to wait out the Dynamax. I think of all people I would know that.
1 turn sleep, god damn it.
I had 3 major changes that I think are valid nerfs to Dynamax to make it a bit more balanced, maybe a couple of quality of life changes in there as well. These are ordered in how likely I think it will be implemented, so the first change I say will be the most likely, and then the last will be the least likely. This one's pretty cut and dry, just make it so Dynamax levels don't affect the VGC rule sets. If you didn't know, the amount of health that you get when Dynamax is determined by your Dynamax level, which can be leveled up with Dynamax candies, maxing at Dynamax level 10. At Dynamax level 0, the Pokemon receives a 50% boost to their HP, adding 5% to that number every Dynamax level. Meaning at level 10, you get a 100% boost, so 2 times your normal HP. Meaning, if this were changed, the default would be 1.5 times your HP. Meaning Dynamax Pokemon will take less to KO, making the defensive side of Dynamax less oppressive. It doesn't affect the main story or max raids, and I've seen a bunch of people on Twitter and other social media wanting this change, so I think it would be the only one that has a chance of getting in. This one is also pretty simple. Keep it so max moves do 1/4 damage on Protect, but make it so it doesn't activate the effect, essentially making it more worthwhile to play defensive. This change could make for some interesting plays where you can prevent something like a G-Max Resonance by reading which slot Lapras is going to target. Before the last big change, I have a few tweaks that I would like to see that are viable changes. Make phasing tools like Red Card, Dragon Tail, Roar, etc. work on Dynamax. It adds an extra layer of counterplay to it. Although I feel like it'd be a little bit busted, so to balance it out, Max Guard should block phasing type moves that normally go through Protect, like Roar and Whirlwind. I feel like weight-based moves should just work on these Pokemon. Maybe Game Freak was a little bit lazy not implementing, but I feel like it would be easy just to keep the regular weight or maybe add a multiplier when Dynamaxed. I feel like every person who's played this game knows the pain of missing an important move on a Dynamax Pokemon and thought to themselves, how did I miss something that big? So make it so you can't miss Dynamax Pokemon. Earthquake moves don't work on Dynamax Pokemon anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. And Dynamax Pokemon already hit every move, so I think it'd be a little bit better. And now for the biggest change, make Dynamax only available via a held item. This change is the least likely to happen, but the biggest change that I want to see. Not only would this change bring in line with Dynamax's predecessors, but it would also make the offensive side of Dynamax less oppressive, bringing balance to the HP nerf. Doing this would limit your Dynamax options down to 1 per team due to the item clause, while also getting the items like the weakness policy or the life orb to increase offense, and the assault vests and weakness berries to increase defense. If you're going to use Dynamax Pokemon on your team, you need to commit to just 1. But what if I can't bring my 1 Dynamax Pokemon to a game due to a poor matchup, I hear you say? Well, it's pretty simple. Don't. You don't have to bring it, just like you didn't have to bring a Mega or a Z-move to every game back in the day. With the changes previously mentioned, I think you would have plenty of options to defeat a Dynamax Pokemon without one of your own. KOing a Dynamax Pokemon is easier, your defensive tools are stronger, and you can phase them out. I even thought of a cool design for the item. It could be like a ball case, like the decoration cases from the Sinnoh games, and I could recall something like the Max case with a power cover or something. Regardless, I think it would be a pretty cool change to the game, and I'd like to see how it turns out if it happens. And that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I think even after the nerfs that I suggested, I think Dynamax would still be a strong tool. I feel like it's similar to the operator from Valorant, because it would still be good, but it's been nerfed so it's less oppressive. But regardless, even if Dynamax doesn't get nerfed or anything, I still plan on continuing to play Pokemon in VGC in the future. I spent a lot of time making this video, so if you could like the video, it would be greatly appreciated. Also, I do almost daily VGC content on this channel, and I'm sure if you made it this far into the video, at least you would have some interest in Pokemon. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to see when I upload. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in the next video.